Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon, FBA, and e-commerce podcast.
Lunch with Norm.
Oh, I'm excited today. All right, for today's show, we're going to be talking about who will be buying Amazon FBA businesses in 2022. So if you're thinking about an exit, stick around. Our guest today is, and be nice to him, he's also our sponsor, so I guess I got to be nice to him, Chris Shipferling. So anyways, Chris and his team over at Global Wired Advisors, they're our sponsor, and I'll be getting to their plug in a second. But anyways, I wanted to bring Hayden in. Kelsey's not around right now. And let's see. I know he's going to do something. I just know his personality. I knew you were going to do something. All right, so this is Hayden. This is Kelsey's brother, and he does have a different sense of humor, so just play along with him. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to thank Lifestyle Concepts, Manny. Hey, welcome back, Manny, Mark, and Facebook users. Now, Hayden, I can't read the Facebook username, so you'll probably have to do that for me.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, so
I already got a hashtag. We love Hayden.
We love Hayden. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, how easy it is to forget about Kelsey. Okay, so before we get started, Hayden, I do have to mention that we want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Global Wired Advisors, a leading digital investment bank focused on optimizing the business sales process. For more information, please visit globalwiredadvisors.com. And if you have any questions, Chris Shipferling will be here to answer them. So, oh my gosh, Chris, I'm sorry for messing up your name, but let's get started. What do you have to say, Hayden?
All right, so I'm going to do my best to not butcher this.
Oh, you will. Don't worry about it.
I think Kelsey has a few things he normally likes to say, and one of those would be, I believe it's smash that like button. So if you haven't done so already, wherever you're watching in the world, make sure you smash that.
You're doing better than Kelsey. He usually forgets to say that. But anyway, okay. So Hayden, if you could just monitor if there's any questions, we'll take the questions towards the end. Okay. And then again, just a few shout outs. Simon, nice to see you. Terry, nice to see you. I don't think I've seen Terry in a while, but, and Jessica, Roz, how are you? Okay. So if you do have questions, throw them over in the comment section, and the podcast might be a little off today. Sorry, Chris, but Kelsey's not around. Hopefully Hayden can, take on his position. He does, by the way. If you want to check out my other podcasts that we don't really promote, I know this guy. Hayden is producer extraordinaire over there. So anyways, I just wanted to give you a little plug there, Hayden.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. All right, guys. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the show. Man, nothing like messing up the sponsor's name.
Hey, I've been called all kinds of stuff, man. So it's genuinely all good as long as. My dad used to always say, you can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner. And it's still a great dad joke. Just a great dad joke.
I tell that to Hayden and Connie all the time.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Chris, for those of us that don't know you, can you give us just a little bit of background about you and the company?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll try and do Reader's Digest for everybody. Yep. And try and be succinct because I'd love to get into some of the meat and potatoes about what we'd like to talk about today. But we are a four partner led firm. My background is in consumer products, so I worked as a sales and marketing executive for many years in the baby and toy space, which was a fun, antiquated industry. So started there early 2000s, started working with Amazon very, very early on. I think we were one of the first baby product brands at the time with the company I was working for on Amazon, because everybody else said no way. And we were like, no, we'll take the sales. We'll go on Amazon. And so, yeah, I've been working in consumer products for a while. I pivoted my own career about 6 years ago to really focus in on having the direct handshake with, at the time, mom and dad, or the caregiver, parent. Was really tired of subjective buyer opinions, with no real data to kind of back up what they were saying and why they believed and took a view on, potential product that would or would not go on their shelf. And so I just wanted to have that direct handshake. I learned Seller Central, put my head down, really learned digital marketing. And I started my own consulting firm focused really in on the baby and toy space, and a couple other different industries, but helping, larger brands formulate good digital strategy, because there are still, even to this day, as I still stay in contact with a lot of folks in that world, there's still a lot of guys folks that are just not prepared, believe it or not, for the digital age, which, I mean, now you have to be super prepared, right? Especially through COVID and all the secular tailwinds that are hitting e-commerce and Amazon-based assets right now. But I met my three partners. We're all from Charlotte, North Carolina. I grew up here. I'm one of the few Charlotteans, the original, the OG Charlottean. But we all met, and really coming from the background I was coming from, they all came from institutional investment banks. They worked in all the bulge bracket, all the household names, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, Deutsche, within their investment banks, carrying titles like managing director, and in some cases above. So holding really important positions. But if you know anybody who's worked in investment banking, like true bulge bracket investment banking, it's cutthroat. It's a lot of hours. And so all kind of at the same time, we all were kind of in our entrepreneurial journey. And so we met up and said, based on their experience they had trying to actually buy some businesses in the Amazon space, believe it or not, they said, I can't believe how underserved the seller is through the process that we're actually even going through to try and buy an Amazon business. And so really the thesis was, hey, let's start an investment bank that's focused in on e-commerce concentrated businesses. Let's give this market a sophisticated process when it's time to sell the company, when it's time to have the largest liquidity event that really almost anyone Norm, that's gone through an exit. It's the largest liquidity event that they'll go through. Let's give it the most optimized process and sophisticated process that you normally would get at a JP or a Goldman or a middle market investment bank. And let's apply that now to this part of the market, digital assets. And so, we started about 3.5 years ago, and been going strong ever since. We're staffing up like crazy as we speak. We actually are just about to bring on a senior VP of equity research, about to build out the business development team, in the process of hiring there. We built out our transactions team. We only hire from large investment banks. And so when a seller goes through a process with us, they're going through a process and getting a team that has worked on very large, complex transactions. And so, you're getting the A team when it comes to taking the business to market. So a little bit about us, and, happy to divulge any more information that you think is relevant.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that, because I think it's important that we talk about aggregators versus your style of bringing a deal together. But what I do want to just mention to the listeners today, if you have the ability to reach out and invite people to the podcast today, do it. I don't ask a lot of the times, but Chris is going to bring his A game to the table. And I think all of us are trying to figure, unless you're doing something for a legacy, but all of us are trying to figure out how to exit, to exit in 22, how to exit in 23, how to put your ducks in a row. So if you can, invite people to the podcast today, and just put their listening ears on, because I know I've talked to you in the past. You blow me away every time we do talk, and I can't wait, because you're going to prosper too, correct?
That's right. Yep, absolutely.
Right. Okay. And also, we do have a giveaway today. We have 5 tickets that we're giving away for free for the Women's Empowery Conference. So if you're interested in going to the Empowery Women's eCommerce Conference, I think that's exact. I always butcher names. Let us know. You can either email k@lunchwithnorm.com or send me a direct message, and we'll get you a free ticket. The first 5 people will get a free ticket. It runs right after Prosper. You'll save a few $100s, and it's going to be, if you take a look at the lineup, it's incredible. All right, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot. We had some technical difficulties, and I wasn't sure if Kelsey reached out and if you're doing a consult or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, anybody who's listening today, if they just want to put some time on a calendar, I'm happy to put it in the comments, or however we can share that with folks, or if that's on your website, just happy to share my calendar. And if anybody wants to, or my email address, and just look, we're trying to be as helpful as possible. We're trying to give good analysis on the market. We're trying to kind of cut through a lot of the white noise that's out there, because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of water cooler talk. There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of what we call fishtails. And so you need someone who's, we see the other side every day, all day. We're talking to the investment community, whether that's the aggregator community, whether that's the private equity funds, whether that's the family offices, and in some case, the vertically focused brands, the corporate strategics that are potential good fits. So we're hearing in real time what the buy side is telling us and what they believe about this market. Then we're layering in our own analysis. And so by all means, yes, we want to be highly helpful.
Perfect. So the giveaway today, consult with Chris. And after you hear what he's going to say today, it's an incredible value. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. Now we can get going with the podcast. All right. So summer of 22.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening in Congress. I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know what's happening with Amazon. I don't know if you can help clear some of this stuff. What do we got to look for 2022?
Yeah, 2022 is going to be interesting. I mean, if you stop and take a look back, right, to begin with, and you look 12 months in the past, let's go 18 months in the past, right? All this flurry of activity just didn't exist. Right? You didn't have any of this venture debt, any of this venture capital coming into the market right now. You just didn't have it. Then you fast forward from 18 months prior to going to 12 months prior, and now you've got the sprouts of what has been deemed the aggregator funds, right? They have been given capital by venture providers and credit facilities in order to deploy that capital into Amazon-based assets, right? So really the criteria was very simple. It's let's go after things that are at least 80% Amazon. We're only willing to pay so much. And let's call a spade a spade. It was a lot of me too. It was a lot of let's follow the leader, Thras. What is Thras doing? Let's kind of copy their model. So in essence, it was an arbitrage model. They saw a market, and it was canary in the coal mine, right? So they see a market. It's a newer market with these Amazon businesses that are growing, right? And they're starting to really have some staying power. They're looking more and more as time went on, especially through the COVID period. These are good assets for us to buy, but we can arbitrage them. So we can buy them for a 3 multiple, and then down the road, whatever that strategy is and the thesis for the investment of that fund, we at least the minute it goes on our balance sheet and we grow the business, we're at least going to get a 10, 15, 16x multiple over time for this as we aggregate more and more businesses. But the investment thesis was we need to buy them here in order to arbitrage here, right? So that's kind of where it started. And then you fast forward over time, and now some of the water cooler talk starts to happen, some of the hearsay. But some of it is element of truth, which is multiples are expanding. They're going up. And what we're seeing today as we fast forward is we're now starting to see some real segmentation, and we're actually starting to see some real strategic purchasing when it comes to these specific aggregators. But here's the other thing we're seeing that we didn't necessarily see through the COVID period. We're starting to now see true, what we call traditional funded sponsors, private equity, starting to come into this space, and they're starting to knock on the door. And part of that is, our firm is showing them really strong assets. We're showing them really strong deals. And corporate strategics are now getting interested in this space. What do I mean by this space? It's Amazon-based assets, right? And really more so, it's all e-commerce assets, right? So you've got this, rush of Amazon assets between aggregators. Private equity is now knocking on the door, and corporate strategics are still a little bit iffy. But kind of e-commerce in general, you've got just a lot of attention. And there's a lot of PR right now when it comes to these digital consumer product companies. And so you're getting a lot more interest of folks coming in the space. Going back to canary in the coal mine, that's the next 12 months. That's the next 18 months. That phrase, what it means, and you're probably familiar with it, it means let's let the canary go in the coal mine and let's see how damaged he really is or she is when they come out. Mm-hmm. And so that's where private equity is starting to go, okay, well, let's see what's happening with all of this acquisition activity with Amazon-based assets. And they're not really seeing or hearing about just a wave of failure. They're now getting interested. It's cash flow positive from day one, most Amazon businesses. And so that's a little bit different than typical venture, which is usually what they call a cash burn or a burn rate, not cash flow positive for a while. That's why they raise so much cash to eventually have a large exit. These are cash flow positive businesses. And we're also now starting to see segmentation happen and a little bit of fragmentation in the sense of even the aggregators, and PE has always been this way, corporate strategics, they're now wanting to get more strategic in the way that they purchase. So let's fast forward now 12 months. Where are we? I think you've got consolidation that's going to happen within the aggregator space. That these
I agree, yeah.
Amazon-based assets, they are, these funds that have been raised for Amazon-based assets, I think they're going to look to sell their portfolios, what they've been able to purchase. It's a little bit like Hunger Games, Norm, to be really blunt. Kind of at the bottom tier, what have they purchased? But they're burning the candle at both ends, right? So this side of the candle is acquisition debt. This side of the candle is growth capital and working capital. And so guys who are unable to raise enough money, they're basically burning the candle, and eventually you run out. And now you've got to consolidate. You've got to effectively sell the entire portfolio. You're divesting specific assets within that portfolio. So I think you see consolidation, totally normal for a sector, totally normal for maturity. I think you see more private equity wanting to buy Amazon-based assets, but they've got to be very specific. They can't be someone that's got a garlic press and another widget within one Amazon Seller Central. That has already stopped in the aggregator community. The conception was there 6 months ago. They just want cash flow. Now it's a misconception, right? Because I think some of them did. And we saw some purchases fire off where we were like, I can't even believe that was acquired. But it was acquired because of cash flow. But that's not a foregone conclusion per se, but it's definitely in the rearview mirror now. So you've got to be now very strategic about the way that you're plotting out your exit plan. You've got to be strategic about the way that you're thinking about your business, right? So what does that mean? Get vertically focused unless you're a holdings company. If you're a holdings company that's got brand X, Y, and Z, they're all different. They're all their own LLCs. They're all kind of marching in their own vertical lane. They all make sense, understood. But if you're just a business owner that's, kind of tracking right now towards an exit plan, being vertically focused, focusing in on brand is going to become so much more important in the summer of 2022 than it even is at this moment. So that's kind of where we're seeing the crystal ball, I guess, very high level. And it's all good news, though. I mean, the good news is this isn't going anywhere. All the stats, all the data, all the analysis, I'm sure folks that are listening right now, they're feeling softness in their business at the moment. Well, that's because 43% of discretionary earnings was just transferred in July or in June towards travel and leisure. We were locked up in our house for so long. But that's all going to normalize, and e-commerce is still going to dominate and continue to dominate year over year over year. Wall Street Journal put out a piece saying that we're going to continue to feel that same speed, kind of that same, what we call secular tailwind, all the way probably till 24, 25. And that's just kind of what we're feeling now. And then so the normalizing of any and all of that is just going to be e-commerce dominates retail sales effectively, over the course of the next, say, decade, at least half of it, right? Where right now it still only represents 19%. We still got a long runway. So, but as we continue to move on, it's going to be more and more important for brands and business owners to think about their business strategically, because that's what happens in a mature market.
I love hearing that. I'm a brand guy. I think you know that. And the more and more you build up your brand, the brand culture, the brand story, you're going to, you're going to help with your brand, or with the equity that you can build in your company.
That's right.
Brand, and that's why we talk about buying, well, first of all, making sure that there's a trademark, making sure that you have a good quality name. If you're just going to have a misspelled name that's 30 characters long, it's not going to help out with your brand. If your brand's not consistent, if it doesn't make sense, if the products that are in your store don't make sense, and that's going to bring down the overall purchase price. But I'm kind of curious, Chris, the actual niches. Are there any niches that are standing out from the others?
100%. Pet, no questions. Pet gets a lot of forgiveness, and if you've got an amazing brand in pet, you're going to see multiples that just get silly. Genuine.
What kind of multiples are we talking about?
Well, I mean, look, if you start really kind of going outside of the Amazon-centric world for a moment, and you look at the entire industry of pet, normalized middle market multiples for pet, 10, 11, 12, 14 multiple. There's been some trades that have occurred to strategics that have fired off for 20, 23 multiple. I mean, just stupidity. It's just such a hot sector. Because the CAGR over time and then through COVID, how humans react to their pet is continuing to evolve. Like, it's now part of the house. It's actually another child. And in some cases globally, you got birth rate declining, but pet sales going up. And in fact, the U.S. birth rate, through 2020 declined 8% going into this year. But pet sales continue to go up, right? And in fact, I think through COVID, I read somewhere that the shelters, the pet shelters were running out of pets to adopt in certain places in the United States. So pet's a really hot one. Beauty always continues to stay very hot, just because if you get, it's all about brand, and if you can hit the loyalty, you get that repeat purchase over and over and over again.
Are you talking about the same type of multiples for beauty?
Yeah, beauty sees some pretty. I mean, again, if I'm going to let's take this world out for a moment, because it's very much segmented, all Amazon business, right? If I'm just looking at call it the middle market, even touching into the enterprise level businesses, you're talking businesses that have, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 million of EBITDA. Yeah, you're starting to touch those types of multiples. I mean, we just heard of a trade that happened with a large publicly traded Japanese company called Tomy. They just purchased a specialty brand called Fat Brain, and we heard the multiple range was anywhere between 13 to 15. And so again, when you've got brand, it matters. Like when you're just focused on SDE, and when you're just focused on it's the basic stuff. When you're just focused on the basic stuff, or you're just focused on, I could use a few curse words and I won't, but when you're focused just on the basic stuff, you're not going to get a strong trade, because if you're focused there and that's all you're focused on, then you're more than likely not a strategic. You're not a strategic purchase. You're not a strategic brand. And building brand is the best thing you can possibly do. Period, hands down. Anyone who says, yeah, but I'm just an Amazon brand, that's not, Amazon brands can't be brands. BS.
That's right.
BS. Because we have sold them, we have presented them, we've got a deal right now that's got a huge offer from a middle market private equity fund with an operating partner in that fund that's got 20 years of experience inside of this particular vertical. And they are all over this all Amazon brand, all over it, because they see the potential. It's a real brand.
Pre-COVID, if you were a public company coming in to purchase an Amazon brand, I believe, don't tell me if I'm wrong, but I think if you saw multiples of 4 to 5, you would be doing the happy dance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there was still so much platform risk that was applied to any trade. I think there was absolutely a ceiling, 2019, 2018, because frankly speaking, the gold rush of Amazon Seller Central didn't really happen until 2015, 16, 17. So like a lot of these businesses are now just kind of growing up and coming into themselves, right? Like in 20 and 21. So yeah, back then you still had, the cake was half baked, right? Like the cake looked good. Like, the recipe, once it's fully baked, was going to be awesome. But some of these businesses they were sold too early. They didn't have enough cash flow to really reach a broader audience and get a lot of people to care. They didn't really have that staying power just yet. And so as time has been the quotient, right? It's kind of as time has gone on, then the value of the brands that are sitting on the platform have also gone up. But yeah, I mean, if you're just Joe Schmo selling a bunch of different products, hear the difference inside of a Seller Central, I mean, you're discounted just like it was 2018. But if you've got the staying power in the brand and you're showing that growth rate, and especially now, if you're showing a growth rate over last year, I mean, you're in a class of your own, honestly.
Let's go back to brand for a second. So investing in the brand, we talked the other day about going into the red to build your business. Mm-hmm. Don't think out of the gate you're going to be in the black. And if you are in the black, you're doing something wrong. You're leaving money on the table.
Yep.
What about brand? Let's talk about the website, a quality website. Let's talk about consistency across social media. Should people, because I get this a lot, oh, I can't spend $2,500 or $5,000 or whatever it's going to be for a website. It might just be a one-page website. Or I can't spend on good quality social media, so I'll go out to some place for $100 a month and to get your social media. Should we be concentrating on building the brand at the get-go?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you can take a long game for that too. It doesn't have to all be done at one time, right? So for instance, let's pick on this example for a moment, right? You can absolutely 100% start on Amazon. Maybe you don't even have a website yet. Maybe you don't have social media yet. You can start on Amazon and build the brand to a point where the company is driving some level of cash flow to reinvest back into the company. You can start there because, acquirers are never going to know 4 years from now what anything looked like today, right? Mm-hmm. They're only going to see what it is the day that they see the company and then how you paint the picture going forward. And so getting to kind of the means towards that end, like at the end is the exit, right? The means towards that can kind of take all shapes and different sizes, as long as that's my end, that's where I need to get to, right? So you can kind of slowly build up, okay, well, I don't have enough money to get a website right now. Well, honestly, there's plenty of ways to make a beautiful, at least aesthetic website without having to make it so complicated. You can even start with Shopify, right? So the barrier of entry even there is a bit low. Okay, well, I don't have enough money to really take social media seriously. I've met plenty of business owners who did their own social media in the beginning. And guess what? It wasn't necessarily easy, and some folks aren't great at it, but at least you have some level of social media presence. And even if you are, kind of looking at your budget and going, I can only afford $100 a month. Well, at least start there if you believe it's good enough for where you are at that moment. But it's the vision of having that brand and where it's going. That's the most important piece. And then, so if you have to build on that, I mean, some people have the privilege of getting a seed round of $200,000 or $400,000, and they can fast forward things really quick. But that's not every business owner. So I think you can take things in stride is what I'm trying to say. Start with where you'd be most profitable. And for the most part, that's Amazon. Let's call a spade a spade.
I had, and I just introduced you to Colin Campbell. He was on the other day, and he was talking about building up his company, very little sales on Amazon, but 90% of his sales were outside of Amazon, on Shopify, on Wayfair, on all these other platforms. Is that something that you take a look at as well? Like if you've got an 100% Amazon brand, and then you've got a brand that's kind of spread its wings, very diversified, got a wide breadth, is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. It's just because you've proven that you can diversify away from a marketplace, and that you can go and acquire your own customers through your own true asset, your own website. And I mean, Wayfair is a marketplace. So is Walmart. I think the biggest driving factor isn't I'm diverse, so I'm in Walmart. I'm diverse, so I'm in Wayfair marketplaces. True diversification says I've been able to rotate off Amazon, or I started by only being on Shopify, and I was able to grow that business very profitably. It's a very tough task, honestly, to be able to do that and be profitable very quickly. And the other way that kind of brings merit to diversification is I am in pet and I go to Super Zoo and I set up a booth, and there are retailers who want my product. And I am now on some retail shelves. And I've decided to throttle that back because, well, retail strategy takes a lot of working capital, right? It requires a team. It requires a whole team for accounts payable, accounts receivable, a whole level of logistics and quality control, as well as product development, a team to monitor the numbers. But you may have gone to Super Zoo and you're in a few stores. You might be in a test. That's diversification. Kind of other marketplaces, not so much, because it's still something that I can go to Walmart today with a product and I can put it on, but going to Walmart stores and having them buy into this brand and they want to put it on shelf, it's a completely different lens than just me going to the marketplace. That's still kind of seen as more or less building my brand through, say, an Amazon. But yeah, diversification is important. It definitely brings more what we would call starch to the deal. It gets a lot more folks, I'd say, interested because you've been able to diversify the channel. And then when you really pick on the D2C, which is your own website, there's a lot of data that you own that you don't own on Amazon. But
right. I was just going to ask that.
But the good news is, look, it's a slow crawl, man, but they're slowly but surely giving, it's like we're all standing at the large gates. Like we're just staring at these large medieval gate called Amazon, and they're just slowly opening up the door for us to kind of peek inside a little bit, slowly but surely, like brand analytics, right? Like now we're able to see some brand analytics and understand our demographic a little bit more, what our repeat purchase rate is, and like slowly but surely. So we'll see where they go in the next 2 years. I mean, if they kind of swing the gates more wide open, then you'll probably see kind of the direct to consumer. You'll see Amazon catch up to the direct to consumer value. But owning your own data will always be a very important aspect because it helps you go and find other, but then you've got total rabbit trail, but then you've got iOS 15 and that's just screwing everything up. Right. And so, right. Yeah, who knows? I actually need to go have a conversation with my, two of my partners that are running an all Shopify business, and it's a sizable business, and I need to go catch up with them to hear what the buy side, how they're taking a view on the new iOS 14 and the iOS 15 that's coming down the pipe.
That would be a very interesting discussion because it's like what's going on in Congress, with Amazon right now. You just don't know what the outcome's going to be. So, anyways. Just before we get to the next question, just wanted to remind people, if you didn't hear at the beginning, we have Melissa Simonson over at Empowery gave us 5 tickets for the Empowery Women's Conference in Vegas. It's right after Prosper. It's the next day after Prosper. It's running for the day. You'll save a few $100s. So if you want to go, just send it over to k@lunchwithnorm.com. And first 5 people, we'll get a free ticket. No strings attached. You're not going to be on some email list. Maybe you will. I don't know. But I don't think you will. But anyways, send them over. We'll get you the free ticket, and we'll see you at Prosper. And Chris has generously donated some time, free consulting for hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. And just like what we're talking about today, he can position you. He'll talk to you about how to position your company, what's happening in 2022, and it'll be priceless. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, and that'll get you into the wheel. Okay, Hayden, what are you doing?
Actually, it's hashtag Wheel of Hayden today. I'm sorry to to burst your bubble.
Oh.
Anyone who uses either hashtag will be entered.
Hayden, just a sec. This, you go. Okay, so hashtag hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or Hayden, pain in the butt. Now you know why he's not producing this show. Okay.
I love it.
Okay, so do you have it? Good. He's gone. All right. So let's talk about new capital flowing into the space. Let's what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's fast money, right? So fast money comes in quick and it leaves just as quick. And so if it's not seeing short-term, long-term return, it's a lot of debt though. So I mean, the debt kind of sits a bit differently. It comes with a lot of covenants. It comes with a lot of warrants and reps. It sits differently than equity. But it's fast money. And I mean, there's been plenty of markets that have seen fast money come into it, and fast money will leave just as fast. Long term, we are still sticking to, we know private equity is already knocking on the door here. They're looking for strategic acquisitions. They're looking for, and they've got a lot of dry powder. I mean, when you really look at the amount of capital that's been raised just to go and purchase Amazon-based assets, it's roughly over 4 billion, maybe 4.5 billion. When you look at dry powder across all balance sheets, corporate balance sheets, private equity, family offices, you're talking close to like $1.5 trillion, something like that. So, I mean, and just for consumer discretionary, that dry powder or capital, I think we measured somewhere around 300 to 400 billion. So when you compare that to the 4.5, and more money will probably get raised in the subsequent rounds. I don't think you're going to see many new aggregators, by the way. I think that's done. I think we've kind of reached concentration at the moment. What you're going to see now is new rounds, Series A, Series B, Series C, IPOs, SPAC, obviously, is what the speculation is for. Well, it wasn't just speculation. It was actually in a Bloomberg article for Thras that they're going to go through a SPAC. That will be interesting because all public eyes will be on that new public equity, right? And so we'll have a chance to all look at the same thing at the same time, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how the public market reacts to Thras and their potential SPAC. And I think I think it's going to be positive. I do believe that, and I think you're going to see another kind of flurry of activity post. Mm-hmm. If it's not great, then you'll start to see some fast money getting reeled in. And so I think that's a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say bellwether, but if I had to find a word, it's a little bit more or less like the bellwether of what's probably going to happen next in terms of the current fast venture debt, in this market. But we take a view that long term, it's really private equity they're going to put their roots, because look, a lot of these Amazon-based businesses are either going to be, currently they've been sold, and then they're going to be flipped and sold to the middle market, and they're going to look much different. They're going to evolve and look different. And then any businesses now that I think are continuing to grow through 22 and 23, are also going to try and look to become more diverse, as we talked about earlier. And they're going to look much different than the assets that are being purchased now, which will be more attractive for a more strategic acquisition from private equity, corporations, and family offices. So, between
an aggregator and private equity, are they looking at different things when they're going to buy a company?
Yeah, they do. They look at they don't have two completely different lenses, but they've got two different lenses. Mm-hmm. Private equity tends to be more strategic. They've got more of a stronger investment thesis. They're doing acquisitions day in, day out. So it's more common, but they've got a fund that's been raised to go after specific criteria, whereas aggregators are actually morphing more towards that now, but traditionally have been just, I need to buy Amazon assets. So their criteria was more like, it needs to be 80% Amazon, not a reseller, private label. Thank you very much. It's starting to morph though and become more strategic. We're hearing things like it doesn't fit our strategy. And so that's an interesting evolution with the aggregator community, in my opinion. Plus, private equity looks at a business and they go, okay, this is either a bolt-on, it's a platform, it's a bolt-on to another portfolio company, it's part of our portfolio, or it's a cornerstone, and they're really kind of looking to silo that particular company and let it run as its own entity. Whereas aggregators have a back office they have all operations. It's like almost like a private investment vehicle, mm-hmm. versus say a true kind of private equity fund, because they are exercising probably more debt than a private equity fund, but they're throwing it all in the back office and putting it through an operating machine, whereas private equity builds individually portfolio companies, or they bolt on to another asset that they currently own.
Now, I know this is tough when you sell a business, and I know that you can either be asked to stay on or just get the hell out. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of curious, do you see that more and more sellers that have built up their business are asked to stay on to help build the brand, to continue to build the brand, or to kind of stay on as a consultant role, or just to be not involved at all?
Yeah, the interesting, I mean, for historically, mm-hmm. I struggle to say that word because it's like the past 12 months.
Way back.
I know, back in my day, June of 2020.
Yeah.
But, historically, it's been, hey, we'll purchase the business and then you go on your merry way from an aggregator. Private equity always wants you to roll some type of kind of retained risk in the form of equity in the new company. And then if you're a really strong operator of the business, private equity loves if you stay on, and they want to keep your team. Now, there's ways to negotiate. There's ways to talk through all of that and get you eventually out of the business. But that's kind of more or less their MO. But in more recent history, June of 2021, May of 2021, in more recent history, we have been hearing more conversations around, even with the aggregator community, operators staying on, and mainly because they've identified something in the operator that could potentially help the entire organization, not just that particular asset. That makes sense. So it really does depend on a lot of different factors, But here's the good news is when you use a process through Global Wired Advisors, okay, I'll be biased for a moment, and you've not heard me pitch at all throughout this entire thing, and I won't do it, but we hear what you want out of your exit before we take you to market, and that's a really important part of the alignment of expectations between you as a seller and us as your intermediary. It's really, really important to align from that perspective. So you might say, hey, look, I'm like, we've got a trade right now. He's like, I'm totally burnt out. I'm done. Mm-hmm. Really good operator too. He's like, I'm done. So there is some conversations. He's a good operator. They want him to stay on. So we're able to negotiate a little bit around that, because that's now a premium for someone like him to stay on. So we can negotiate around that a little bit. but that clearly is his goal. So we're having conversations as an intermediary with all of the parties that are involved and are interested in his company with that lens. That's our lens. Our lens is his goals. We're not trying to find something different than what he's communicated to us. So there's a lot of nuance there is what I'm saying.
Great. So we're going to get into some questions. So if you do want to enter into our giveaway today, #Wheel of Kelsey / #Wheel of Hayden. All right, Hayden, now you can show your face.
Oh, thanks.
There we go.
I'm honored.
I'm Team Hayden, right? I'm
Team Hayden.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think the people. Oh, now I have too much stuff on this.
What are you doing?
No,
Now you got a big green
people-
orange bar there. What is that for the?
This
What's
is like
this?
this is like when Will Ferrell and Elf walked in and said, "Congratulations on having the world's best cup of coffee."
Yeah.
This is a self-imposed poll. It sounds like, but I'm
not at all. This is raw science.
follow the science, man.
Oh my gosh! Wait till Kelsey sees that 99% of Hayden's poll. Okay, but no bias, right?
Well, not at all. I think at this rate, Kelsey's probably not going to come back. I mean, 99% of the people have spoken. I don't know what to say.
That's pretty severe, man. Severe beating.
All right, Hayden. Okay,
so
questions.
Bunch of questions.
Now that you won the poll.
Which, by the way, like I don't know if in the next 11 minutes, and I'm there. Huge caveat. There are going to be some questions I'm going to literally say I don't have the answer for right now.
Okay.
And so I'm going to give my email address to anybody who wants to send me questions. I don't.
Perfect.
Care. I'll get the answer and I'll email you back. So if I skip over it, just know, and you guys can put in the comments what my email address is. Rigged election. Oh man, we heard a lot of that in the United States. That brings PTSD right there. So yeah, let's hop to it, man. I'm ready to try and answer some of these questions. But if you guys can put my email address in the comments, that would be awesome.
Great. So from Jahanzaib, what are the most common mistakes e-com sellers make which create problems at the exit?
Yeah.
IP, trademark, patents, anything legal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got to, before we even take you to market, a process like ours, an investment banking kind of more sophisticated process is going to take you through diligence, like a full diligence. And we're going to diligence the entire company. We do a lot of that even before we take you to market. So yeah, I mean, there are several problems that can come up. Number one, you don't understand what your COGS are. You need to know all of that, be able to qualify your earnings before you go to market, or else you're just going to be alligator rolled by every single person you speak to. If you don't position your numbers, and that's part of our process, by the way. That's why we have a CPA and CFAs and investment bankers on staff to guide everybody through some of the harder parts of the P&L and making sure that it's nice and clean. But yeah, IP, of course, you got to have that cleaned up. Having a bunch of brands in one seller central and you're trying to divest just one brand, that's just like, that's part of the vetting. That's part of the vetting before an engagement letter goes out, which is like, we got some work here. So, yeah, I mean, if there's any disagreements on the cap table, that's something that has to be worked out. Yeah, I could name a lot. So by all means, if you want to throw that question to me over email, I'm happy to kind of round that out so we can get to other questions.
Great. So next up, Jessica Rabbit. How important are locations of the marketplaces? USA, Eastern or Western Europe countries?
Yeah, good question. I mean, that's more of like it's actually more, that's a kind of a universal fund approach. I mean, there are just some funds that just want, they're looking for the opportunity in Europe. And so, they're only looking for, say, USA kind of already established. They could take it to Europe and bring that brand to Europe. There's others that are inversed. I'd say for the most part, funds are looking for USA concentration because that tends to be the hardest market. It's the largest market and hardest market to penetrate from a marketplace perspective.
All right. Give me 1 second. So another one from Jessica Rabbit. What's the suggested priority to build for high multiple exits?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. That's an email for sure. And I might have a novel, so my apologies in advance. But I'll give you one priority so we can get to other questions. It's what we already talked about. You need to build a brand. There's no other vertically focused brand. period. It will always produce. You got to have financial tenets that make sense, right? So you can't just say, well, oh, I've got a brand and it's great and people love it, but I make no money. You've got to have some substantial EBITDA. You've got to have some real growth in the business. Size and scale matter. But if you got size, scale, vertically focused brand, massive priority.
Great.
I know I just described the perfect company. I'm sorry, everyone's laughing at me, but it's like, you can actually work towards that. I promise. There are plenty of businesses who do and are very successful. It's about having vision. I told you I could write a novel, man.
We look forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, another one from Manny. Do you think that Amazon will in the future also want to earn the whole brand like it earns the listings now? So Amazon can sell these businesses.
No, man, I say no, but you never know with Amazon. I mean, I think the question that's being asked is, would Amazon create like its own marketplace to facilitate like Shopify, like a Shopify exchange to facilitate the sale of these businesses? I mean, maybe. I think that, my general overall view of marketplaces, whether it's Shopify Exchange or others that I won't mention that are either new or not new, it's really appropriate for a certain size. But I mean, universally, when you're getting to 1.5, 2, 3, 4 million of EBITDA plus, you never want to sell your business through an exchange. That's just, it's just signals to the market so many negative things, in my opinion.
Great. A few more here from CB.
That's Simon.
Oh,
Simon.
you're definitely going to have to email me, man, because I got 5 minutes and there's no way. And I've got collateral and everything. We're not an aggregator, so I can tell you that. We don't buy Amazon businesses, so that's definitely a differentiation. We take you on a marketing process to sell the business, and then we are wildly different than a business broker, and that will require collateral and an email. So I will answer your question, I promise. Please email me.
Okay.
And I think the last one I have here.
Victor's back. Welcome, Victor. I haven't seen you in a while.
Hi, Victor. I don't know you, but Norm said your name, so I'll say your name.
He's awesome.
We all love Victor.
Our criteria is pretty. We stay pretty strict within our criteria because our process really is. It's more appropriate for that size and scale of a business. We typically work with companies that are between 1.5 to 10 million of EBITDA. We'll dip slightly below the 1.5 and we'll go above the 10. But if we're going to go below the 1.5, we're very disciplined in vetting out that particular business and making sure that it's going to be a strong trade.
All right. I don't believe this, but I think we'll be on time for you today.
Awesome. I was not on time for you, so you're on time for me. So I appreciate that.
There we go. Okay. So Hayden, I think it's that time.
I think it's that time. I guess
you didn't change this up too, did you? Okay. Get it going.
I just want to let Chris know. If you need to leave, you can leave at any time. Okay. We've got from here unless you want to chime in at all.
I'm going to dip out because I got to run to another meeting and I desperately need a bathroom break.
All right.
9 a.m. with lots of coffee. So, Norm, I'll see you next week. Hayden, are you
absolutely
Prosper or no?
I won't be there. Okay. I'll be there in spirit.
There you go.
There we go. All right, Chris. Thanks for coming on.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. Bye.
All right, see ya. Okay. So now the party can start.
Oh, boy.
Let me cue this up here.
Don't even know what you're going to do.
Get ready.
It's time for the Wheel of Hayden.
There goes a technical glitch.
Wait till he sees that. He's not going to be too happy with you. Okay. So, did you do your job?
I think so. I did my best to keep up with all of the hashtags.
Okay.
Now, I guess I need to share the wheel somehow. Just give me 1 sec, people.
You're killing me.
Screen, window, Chrome tab. Wheel of names.
I'm going to start bounding. Oh, there. Oh, that's
can see
different. Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Very good. Who got it?
Looks like Nicholas Schmidt.
Okay, fantastic. So
Let's make note of that.
just send your information, Nicholas, to k@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'll get you in touch with Chris for your free consultation. The other thing is just a quick reminder, if you are going to Prosper and you want to stay a bit longer for the Women's Empowery Conference, just we've got free tickets. We've got up to 5 free tickets. Send it over to k@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'll send you over the information. All right, what are you doing? You got a silly look on your face.
I think the people love me.
I don't know about that. He's very hard to love. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, so Hayden, stop.
Yes, sir.
You're even more annoying than Kelsey when he does the interruption. Okay, let me do my thing. Okay, a big thank you to our sponsor today and having him on the podcast today. He's awesome. But Global Wired Advisors, a leading digital investment bank focused on optimizing the business sales process. For more information, please visit globalwiredadvisors.com or contact Chris and his team. And now you know Chris. Also today, the episode, you might have seen the logo slip in there. We had a second sponsor, .club, and it's the most used top-level domain name, and it's perfect, and the perfect web address for your business. Just think of it, and I use .clubs, but you build a community. You're building a brand, you're building a community. So just a thought about that. All right, Hayden, I think that's it for today. Do you have any news, any other things to add?
Well, we do have a Patreon if you'd like to support the show in other ways, so that Kelsey can eat. We keep him in a cage, until he's needed. Yeah, he escaped today. That's why he's not here. He's out in the wilderness. I don't know how he got out. Someone forgot to lock the cage.
Yeah.
But if you go to the Patreon, you can make sure he gets a dinner weekly.
At least water.
At least water, yeah.
Okay. So thank you for joining us today. And we have this podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We have got Adam Rehnquist coming in next week, which is going to be great. We're going to be talking about driving external traffic to your site. Amazon loves external traffic. As you know, we're going to show you some techniques that are going to help you get that traffic. So thank you for watching today. Hayden, thank you for covering for Kelsey. Yeah, a few mix-ups, but it was okay. It was okay. You might be back. And all right, guys, thank you so much for coming in today, being part of our community. We couldn't be, growing as we are without you. And enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend.
Oh, I'm supposed to keep
now, you're supposed to hit something, or I just sit here and go into the fetal position.
3.
You just hit something, would you?
1.
Oh my God. Lunch with